My name is Ryan Carter. I'm 34 years old and I'm supposed to be dead by now. Not in a dramatic movie of the week kind of way. No explosions, no car chases, no last-minute heroics, just the slow kind. The quiet kind. The kind where doctors stop making promises and start using words like comfort and quality of life instead of cure. Let me back up. 2 years ago, I walked into Massachusetts General Hospital for a routine checkup. I'd been tired lately. Nothing crazy, just the kind of exhaustion you blame on late nights and bad coffee. My ankles were a little swollen, my back ached. You know, normal stuff. The nephrologist's name was Dr. Varma. She had kind eyes and the worst bedside manner I'd ever experienced. She slid my lab results across the desk like she was handing me a death sentence. Because she was. "Your kidneys are failing, Ryan," she said. Both of them. Rapidly, I remember laughing, actually laughing out loud. "That's not funny," my wife Natalie whispered beside me. She was gripping my hand so hard I could feel her wedding ring digging into my knuckles. "Sorry," I said, still smiling, because what else do you do when someone tells you your body is quitting on you? That doesn't make sense. I run, I eat well, I don't even drink that much." Dr. Varma didn't smile back. "It's likely autoimmune. We're running more tests, but I want you to prepare for the possibility of dialysis, and eventually a transplant." The word hung in the air like smoke. Transplant. Natalie leaned into me. Her voice was shaking, but her words were steel. "We'll figure this out, Ryan, I promise." At the time, I believed her. That was my first mistake. My ex-wife's name is Emily Dawson. We met in Boston when I was 22, broke, and running a cybersecurity startup out of a dorm room that smelled like pizza and desperation. She was studying architecture, all sharp angles and quiet confidence. She wore paint-stained cargo pants and carried a sketchbook everywhere like it was glued to her hand. Our first conversation happened at 2 a.m. in a laundromat. I was trying to dry a single dress shirt for a pitch meeting the next morning. She was washing what looked like 30 identical black t-shirts. "You know they sell more than one color, right?" I said. She looked at me like I'd just insulted her mother. "Black is a color." "Barely. You're a cybersecurity guy, aren't you? How could you tell? Only you people think talking to strangers in a laundromat at 2 a.m. is normal behavior." I fell in love with her right there. In a fluorescent-lit laundromat surrounded by dryers that smelled like fabric softener and regret. We got married at 25. It was small, just family and a few friends in a courthouse, followed by tacos at a hole-in-the-wall joint in Somerville. She wore a white sundress. I wore the same dress shirt from the laundromat. We divorced at 28. No cheating, no blowout fights, no dramatic screaming matches where someone throws a lamp. Just two stubborn, ambitious people slowly drifting apart until the silence between us felt heavier than any argument ever could. We wanted different things. She wanted to travel, to build something beautiful, to take risks. I wanted stability, a 401k, and to stop eating ramen like I was still a broke college student. The divorce was civil, almost too civil. We split everything down the middle. No lawyers. No tears, at least not in front of each other. The last thing she said to me was, "I hope you find what you're looking for, Ryan." I didn't respond because I didn't know how to say, what if I already had it, and let it go. We hadn't spoken in almost 5 years. Dialysis is hell. I don't care what anyone tells you. Sitting in a chair for 4 hours while a machine filters your blood like you're some kind of human car wash, it breaks something in you. Not just physically, spiritually. I was doing it 3 times a week at Mass General. The nurses knew me by name. I had a favorite chair by the window. I'd watch the traffic on Cambridge Street and try not to think about how my own body had declared war on me. The waiting list for a kidney was 3 to 5 years. I didn't have 3 to 5 years. Natalie was tested. Not a match. Her family was tested. Nothing. My younger brother who lives in Oregon and hasn't returned my calls in 6 months. Also not a match. Not that I expected him to fly across the country for me. We're not that kind of family. I had accepted my fate. I was going to die, slowly, quietly. In a hospital bed, probably, hooked up to machines that beeped too loudly and sheets that smelled like bleach. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was halfway through a dialysis session, half asleep, when I heard Natalie's voice near the vending machines. She was talking to someone whose voice I hadn't heard in half a decade. Emily. My ex-wife was standing in the dialysis center. She looked older, sharper, more tired. Her hair was shorter, and she had these dark circles under her eyes that told me life hadn't been easy on her. She looked terrified. Natalie walked over to my chair, smiling like she'd just won the lottery. "Ryan," she said softly, "Emily has something she wants to tell you." Emily stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. She wouldn't look me in the eye. "I'm a match," she said. I laughed. I genuinely thought it was a joke. Some kind of twisted prank. Any second now, a camera crew was going to jump out and tell me I'd been punked. Nobody else was laughing. "You're what?" I stammered. "I got tested," Emily said quietly. "A few weeks ago. I heard about your diagnosis through mutual friends, and She finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet. "I'm a match, Ryan. I can give you one of my kidneys." The room tilted. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." "No," I said. "Absolutely not. No way." Natalie squeezed my shoulder. "Ryan, no. You don't ask your ex-wife to cut herself open to save your life. That's insane. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard." "Ryan, listen to me." "No, Natalie, drop it." But Emily didn't drop it. She took a step closer and said something I'll never forget. "I'm not doing this for you," she said quietly. "I'm doing this because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't." I didn't have an answer for that. It took 6 weeks to convince me. 6 weeks of Natalie's relentless pressure. 6 weeks of Emily showing up to every dialysis appointment, sitting in the waiting room like a ghost I couldn't shake. 6 weeks of my health deteriorating faster than anyone anticipated. Finally, I said yes. The surgery was scheduled for a Tuesday. I remember thinking it was a bad omen, surgery on a Tuesday. What kind of person schedules life-saving surgery on a Tuesday? The night before, Natalie went down to the cafeteria to get coffee. Emily was alone with me in my hospital room. She sat in the plastic chair beside my bed, staring at the floor. "You should be sleeping," I said. "I can't. Me neither." A long silence. The machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone was crying. "Ryan," Emily said finally, "I need to tell you something." "Okay." She looked up at me. Her expression was strange, worried. "But not about the surgery. Not everyone around you is who they pretend to be." I frowned. "What does that mean?" She opened her mouth to answer, and Natalie walked back into the room, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Everything okay?" Natalie asked, her eyes flicking between us. Emily's face went blank. "Fine," she said. "Just nervous about tomorrow." Natalie smiled. It was warm, reassuring, the kind of smile that made you feel safe. "That's normal," Natalie said, handing me a cup. "Drink this. You need to stay hydrated." Emily never finished her sentence. I wish more than anything in the world that she had. The transplant was declared a resounding success. That's what the surgeon said. Resounding success. Like we'd won a championship instead of just moving an organ from one body to another. I woke up in the recovery room with Natalie crying over me, kissing my forehead, telling me she loved me. Nurses smiled at us like we were some kind of inspirational hospital story. 2 people in love beating the odds. "Emily?" I asked, my throat raw from the breathing tube. "She's fine," Natalie said. "Still in recovery. They said she's doing great." For the first few weeks, everything felt normal again. I could eat real food without throwing up. I could walk to the bathroom without feeling like I'd run a marathon. I could sleep through the night without waking up in pain. I started believing I had my life back. That was my second mistake. The nightmares started about 3 weeks after the transplant. Not metaphorical nightmares. Actual ones. I'd wake up at 2 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. The dreams were always the same. Someone standing beside my bed watching me. A shadow, nothing I could identify, just a presence. Waiting. I told Natalie about them. She said it was probably the androjection meds, common side effect. Nothing to worry about. But here's the thing, every morning after Natalie handed me my pills and my glass of orange juice, I felt worse. Dizzy, weak, nauseous. I told my doctors, they ran tests. They blamed transplant complications and adjusted my medications. Nothing changed. One night, I'll never forget this, I woke up around 2 a.m. again. The bed was empty. Natalie wasn't beside me. I got up quietly and walked toward the kitchen. The lights were off, but I could hear movement. When I pushed the door open, I saw Natalie standing at the counter. She was holding a small glass vial and pouring a fine white powder into my orange juice. She froze for 1 second, one horrible, eternal second. Neither of us moved. Then she smiled. "Electrolytes," she said casually. "Your levels were low on your last blood test. The doctor recommended a supplement." I wanted to believe her. I really, really wanted to believe her. "Okay," I said. "Thanks." I pretended to drink the juice. I even made swallowing noises. But the next morning, instead of drinking it, I poured it into a travel mug and drove straight to a private lab. My old friend Marcus ran it. We'd worked together at that federal contractor years ago. He owed me a favor. 3 days later, Marcus called me. His voice was shaking. "Ryan, where did you get this sample?" "My house. Why?" There are trace amounts of mercury in here, inorganic mercury, not enough to kill you immediately but over time. Consistent exposure. I nearly drove off the road. What? Ryan, someone is poisoning you, slowly, carefully, and based on the concentration they've been doing it for weeks. Maybe months. My hands were shaking so badly I had to pull over. Someone was poisoning me, and there was only one person who prepared my drinks every morning. I didn't confront Natalie right away. That's the thing about almost dying, it makes you patient. Cautious. You learn to watch, to wait, to gather evidence before you make a move, so I watched, and what I saw made my blood run cold. My best friend, Jason Miller, had started coming over constantly while I was recovering. Too constantly. He'd show up with takeout, hang out for hours, leave late at night. He and Natalie would stop talking whenever I entered a room. Their conversations would die mid-sentence. Their body language would shift. One evening I faked a nap. I lay on the couch with my eyes closed, breathing slowly while they sat in the kitchen. Natalie whispered, "We're close. Just be patient." Jason replied, "What about the insurance payout?" $12 million. My life insurance policy was worth $12 million. I didn't move, didn't flinch. Just kept breathing, slow and steady, while my world collapsed around me. Here's the thing Natalie didn't know about me. Before my startup took off, before the money and the success, I worked as a cybersecurity analyst for a federal contractor. I spent 3 years tracking digital footprints. Finding things people thought they'd deleted. People always leave traces. Always burner phones, encrypted messages, hidden transfers, offshore accounts. Nobody disappears completely online. I started digging. Within a week, I uncovered encrypted messages between Natalie and Jason going back nearly 3 years. They were having an affair. That much was obvious, but that wasn't even the worst part. One message from Jason read, "His kidneys are deteriorating faster than expected." Natalie's reply, "Good, keep increasing the dosage." I stopped breathing. My kidney failure wasn't natural, they caused it, but the real horror came later. I found security footage from a parking garage in Cambridge. The date was the night before Emily's surgery. A black SUV followed Emily's car through 4 levels of the garage. Jason's SUV. I watched Emily pull into a parking space. The black SUV pulled in behind her. A figure got out. Jason, I could see his face clearly, and disappeared from camera view. 30 seconds later, Emily's car rolled backward. Straight into a concrete pillar. Her brakes had been cut. I played the footage over and over, numb. The doctors said the crash was bad luck, a freak accident. Emily had been unconscious for 2 days. She never signed the final surgical consent forms. I confronted Natalie that night. Not about the poisoning, not yet. I wanted to see her face. "Emily's accident," I said casually. "Weird, right?" Natalie didn't even look up from her phone. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what are the odds the night before she was supposed to donate a kidney?" Natalie finally looked at me. Her expression was strange. Almost amused. "You really think Emily's kidney is inside you?" she asked. I froze. "What?" She smiled. "Nothing, just never mind." I didn't sleep that night. I secretly contacted Mass General the next day. I threatened legal action. I told them I'd expose them to every news outlet in Boston if they didn't cooperate. A terrified hospital administrator agreed to meet me at a coffee shop in Back Bay. What he told me nearly destroyed me. "Miss Dawson arrived at the hospital unconscious," he said quietly. "She never signed the final consent forms, but the transplant team was suddenly given another donor organ through what they called an emergency procurement channel." "Another kidney?" "Yes, from an anonymous donor. That's not how transplants work." "I know. Where did the kidney come from?" He wouldn't look at me. "I can't answer that. Can't or won't." "Can't. The records have been sealed by a judge. Someone paid a lot of money to make this go away. Someone rich. Someone desperate. Someone who had access to $12 million in life insurance money. Natalie. I was ready to go to the police when I got a LinkedIn message. From Emily, "Ryan, please don't respond to this publicly. Call me. Same number. It's urgent. She's been blocking me for months." My hands were shaking as I dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. "Ryan?" "Emily. What the hell is going on?" "Where can we meet? Somewhere private, somewhere she won't find us." We met at a diner outside Providence, a greasy spoon off the highway where no one knew us and no one cared. Emily looked terrible, pale, thin. Like she hadn't slept in weeks. She sat down across from me and burst into tears. "Ryan, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "For what?" "Natalie knows something about me. Something I've never told anyone." "What are you talking about?" She wiped her eyes. Her hands were shaking. Years ago, before I met you, I was in a car accident. I was drunk. I shouldn't have been driving. I hit another car. The driver died. I stared at her. My family buried it. They paid off the victim's family. They got the charges dropped. It never went to trial. It never even made the news. Emily, Natalie found out somehow. She came to me 2 years ago after you got sick. She said if I didn't agree to be tested for the transplant, she'd expose everything. She said she'd ruin me, my career, my reputation, my life. My stomach turned. She blackmailed you? She made me pretend I was doing it out of kindness. She made me go to your dialysis appointments, sit in that waiting room, act like I was some kind of saint. Why didn't you tell me? Because she said she'd kill you if I did. The diner suddenly felt very cold. She told me she had ways of making it look natural, Emily continued. She said no one would ever know. She said she'd already done it before. 2 days later, Jason turned up dead, single gunshot wound to the head. Found in his apartment, ruled a suicide within hours. I didn't believe it for a second. Then I got an email from Jason's account. Sent 30 minutes before he died. The video attachment loaded slowly. When it finally played, Jason's face appeared on my screen. He looked terrified, sweating, eyes darting around like he expected someone to walk through the door at any moment. "Ryan," he whispered into the camera, "if you're watching this, I'm probably dead." I leaned closer to the screen. "Natalie's crazier than you think. There was another husband before you. His name was Daniel. She killed him too. I helped her. I didn't realize what she was." He stopped, looked over his shoulder. "I have to go. The police won't believe you. Go to the FBI, not local, federal. Tell them to look into Daniel Reeves. Tell them." The video cut off. I stared at the frozen image of Jason's terrified face. Another husband, not boyfriend. Husband. Natalie had never mentioned being married before. I dug deeper. It took me 3 days to find Daniel Reeves. He died 6 years earlier, sudden heart failure at 37. No suspicious circumstances, no investigation, just a grieving widow and a life insurance payout. Except Daniel had also suffered unexplained organ damage before his death. His medical records, which I may or may not have accessed through less than legal means, showed elevated mercury levels in his system. The same as mine. And guess who collected the insurance money? Natalie Whitmore Carter. She changed her name after Daniel died. Whitmore was her maiden name. She'd buried her past so deep no one thought to look. But I looked, and what I found made me sick. I didn't go to the local police. Just like Jason said, I went straight to the FBI, federal agents. Boston field office. I brought everything, the encrypted messages, the lab results, the security footage, the video from Jason. Daniel Reeves' medical records. The agent who took my statement, Special Agent Maya Chen, listened for 3 hours without interrupting once. When I finished, she sat back in her chair and said, "Mr. Carter, I'm going to need you to start from the beginning again. And this time, don't leave anything out." The investigation exploded faster than I expected. Financial records tied Natalie to offshore payments totaling nearly $2 million over 5 years. Encrypted chats connected her to an illegal organ broker operating out of Chicago, a man named Victor Pavlov who'd been on the FBI's radar for years. Forensic toxicology confirmed mercury poisoning over a prolonged period. And forensic accountants found something even more disturbing. Natalie had taken out life insurance policies on 3 other people in the past decade. All of them were dead. All of them died from natural causes. But the final twist, the one I never saw coming, came from Agent Chen 3 months into the investigation. "Mr. Carter," she said over the phone, "we need to meet, in person." Today, Charles Whitmore was a respected biotech executive worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Publicly, he funded medical charities, children's hospitals, cancer research. He was the kind of man who posed for photos with sick kids and gave speeches about the importance of healthcare access. Privately, he operated an underground network trafficking illegal donor organs to wealthy clients around the world. And Natalie was his daughter. She grew up inside that world. Manipulation was normal to her. Death was business. Human beings were inventory. Charles had been running the operation for nearly 20 years. He'd facilitated over 200 illegal transplants. Dozens of people had died to provide organs for his clients. And when his daughter married a man with a $12 million life insurance policy, he saw an opportunity. "You have to understand," Natalie said later during her interrogation. Agent Chen showed me the transcript. "My father taught me that morality is just a story we tell ourselves to feel better about the things we do. He taught you to kill people. He taught me that some people are worth more than others. and that the world doesn't care how you get what you want, only that you get it. I was never supposed to survive long enough to uncover any of it. The transplant was supposed to buy me a few more months, just long enough for Natalie to collect the insurance money without raising suspicion. But Emily's accident complicated things. The black market kidney kept me alive longer than expected, and my background in cybersecurity made me harder to fool than Natalie anticipated. By the time she realized I was onto her, it was too late. The trial lasted 9 months. National media covered every second. The black market bride, the biotech killer, the kidney conspiracy. Natalie sat in court perfectly calm every single day. She wore white dresses like she was attending brunch instead of a murder trial. She smiled at the jury. She waved at the cameras. She was acquitted of first-degree murder, but convicted on everything else. Attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, wire fraud, racketeering, black market organ trafficking, tampering with evidence, witness intimidation. The judge sentenced her to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Charles Whitmore died in federal custody before sentencing. Heart attack. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Jason Miller's death was officially reclassified as a homicide. The evidence suggested Natalie killed him to silence him, but without a confession, no one could prove it. Daniel Reeves' body was exhumed. The new autopsy confirmed mercury poisoning. 3 other victims were identified through Natalie's financial records. All of them dead, all of them erased. And me, I survived. Barely. The black market kidney started failing 18 months after the transplant. My body was rejecting it, probably because it had never been a proper match in the first place. I went back on dialysis, back on the waiting list, but this time something different happened. Emily got tested again. Not because she was blackmailed this time, not because anyone forced her, because she wanted to. "I owe you," she said when I asked why. "You don't owe me anything." "I do, for not telling you sooner, for not warning you. If I'd said something that night in the hospital, then Natalie would have killed you too. Maybe, but at least you would have known." She was a match again, the same blood type, the same tissue markers. The second transplant happened on a Wednesday. Sunny day, no bad omens, and this time when I woke up, Emily was sitting beside my bed, not Natalie. "You look like crap," Emily said, smiling. "I feel like crap. That's the drugs." "No, that's the 3rd time someone's cut me open and rearranged my insides." She laughed. Actually laughed. The first time I'd heard her really laugh in years. A year after the second transplant, I stood outside a coffee shop in Seattle waiting for Emily. She'd moved there after the trial. A fresh start. No media, no reporters. No one asking her about the crash or the blackmail or the years she spent pretending to be something she wasn't. When she walked toward me, she looked different. Lighter. Like someone had removed a weight she'd been carrying for a very long time. "You look healthier," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "Turns out not being poisoned helps." She laughed again. We walked into the coffee shop and sat by the window. The rain was falling, classic Seattle. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Finally, Emily spoke. "I never stopped loving you, Ryan." I looked at her. "I know," I said. "I never stopped loving you either." So what do we do with that? I thought about it, about all of it, the lies, the betrayal, the years of silence. The kidney, the crash, the trial, the man I thought was my best friend, the woman I thought was my wife. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'd like to figure it out, slowly, this time no rushing." Emily reached across the table and took my hand. "Slowly sounds good," she said. And standing there in the rain, looking at the woman who saved my life twice, once with her body and once with her courage, I realized something strange. The woman I trusted almost killed me. The woman I lost tried to save me anyway. Sometimes love doesn't come back with flowers. Sometimes it comes back covered in scars. But it comes back, and that's more than I ever deserved.